Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back just about, well, the caster are just about in one piece. One is arriving, not on crutches, I can confirm, but we are here to give you the latest up-to-date news on where Spurs are at the moment as players are dropping like flies, as here we are going into yet another international break. Back alongside us, trying to offer hopefully some guidance, some composure as we do go into, like I say, I think the second of three international breaks this season. Lee, I shouldn't say that. Macca McQueen is back. Macca, how are you, mate? Steer us on this crazy train. Put some coal in to survive these players, Macca, right?
Let's see what you did there, Rick. That's very good. Good evening to everybody, to the listeners. Good morning when you're listening to us back or wherever you are around the world. Fantastic to be back on. If I'm a bit low energy today, it's just because of a little sore head from a bit of a party yesterday. And yes, also a bit of a sore head from watching what I'm now calling handbrake on football for when we're at home. But I'm sure we'll get into it, Rick. But lovely to be back, mate, with you two sexy beasts.
One more's joining, depending on how you take that compliment. I think you know where Macca stands at the moment about the football then on that basis. Also back on the show, never shy of an opinion. We've got the wonderful Billy T back in the house. Bill, love to be back alongside us. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's great to be back on the side. You guys, both of you. I just need to shout out Lee, actually. I have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game on my phone, which I play religiously. I got down to the £1 million question. I haven't told him this yet. And the answer for the £1 million question was a certain Lee McQueen. So he won me £1 million. It was Who Won the Apprentice in this year. I saw his name. I had to click it and won £1 million. So it's only virtual money, but you're famous on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire the game. There you go, mate.
There you go.
As I've been telling everybody to come when you surround yourself with me, you start getting more revenue. And there you go.
It's only virtual, mate. I prefer the real thing.
Quality.
There's the game. Ash is joining us very, very soon. On this edition of Last Word on Spurs, we'll be bringing you all the latest when it comes to where Spurs are right now going into the international break. We left you on the news that Muani was to undergo a scan on his jaw. Not good news on Muani. We're going to bring that to you in just a second. But back on the show, never shy or give his opinion. We've got the wonderful Ash over at Spurs Kings. Ash, love to see you back alongside us, looking radiant as we were having some cast issues in the background. Ash, how are you?
Yes, bro. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me on. Big up to the chat as always. Big up to the panel. Let's get into all things Spurs and Frank. Let's do it, bro.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Well, listen, to be frank, where we do go into the international breaks, everybody's aware Spurs are at the moment 5th in the Premier League table. We're tied on, we're 5th and tied on points with 3 other teams at the moment. Spurs end the weekend 8 points from top and 8 points from the bottom. We're 4 points off second and we're only 3 points behind Aston Villa, who are 13th. So that really shows you how congested the table is right now. And yeah, I mean, after 11 games last season, Spurs had 16 points. So far, we are, at the moment, 2 points better off that total. With, like we said at the moment, a number of issues that we're facing in the, injury department right now for Tottenham. And the latest being of that is that Tottenham Hotspur summer signing, Muani, like we left you on the post-match show after Manchester United was forced off of a jaw injury. It's understood that he was due to undergo a scan on the Sunday, and those examinations have revealed he has suffered a fractured jaw. Now, he will be withdrawing if that hasn't already been announced from the France squad for the upcoming international break. And based on a fractured jaw, an individual is expected to be out in the region of 6 to 8 weeks. And if surgery is required, it could be also a matter of months. It's crazy when you think that, Muani, if Muani does come back in January, he would have only started 4 matches since joining the club, and that would have been 4 sub-appearances. And with Solanke starting none, only 3 sub-appearances so far, that would have been 11 appearances between them in the first half of the season. We'll come on to maybe who could fill the gap, but got to come to that news. I mean, Macca, what is it like at the moment with Tottenham and injuries? I mean, it does feel like we're cursed right now. I think as things stands, that's the 12th individual right now that is out first team wise of the squad? Maka, what is going on? Because a lot was made last season of the amount of injuries we've got, if not more, this point in the season this time around.
Well, it must be Thomas Frank's coaching methods, mustn't it, Rick? To be fair, for all of last season, everyone telling us about the other managers' coaching methods with the injuries. Obviously, it's not that, is it? It's not from and/or with Thomas. I mean, it's probably more like the curse that Mr. Costa always talks about, to be fair. Big up Mr. Costa, because it does feel like that way, actually, at the moment. I see a graphic the other day. I mean, you're putting that graphic up now. I think the other teams in and around us, well, Arsenal top of the league, I think they've got 6 injuries at the minute. And we've obviously got now 10, 11, as you're saying. I mean, it feels a bit unlucky, doesn't it? I mean, Muani, to be fair to him, he just hasn't got really started, has he? He had 2 really good opportunities in midweek, which, to be fair to him, he should have scored. Definitely the header. I think the shot was a little bit different because it was on the turn, but it was an excellent move by Spurs. And then the header, he has to bury that. So maybe sometimes you're playing not with a bit of confidence and you're getting in positions, you're not really going for it, you're half going for it, and that's maybe where you pick up injuries. I don't know. Who knows? But broken jaw's a nasty one. I broke my jaw back in the day. It was, I mean, I weren't playing football, so, definitely not at a professional level, but I did break my jaw and I had to wear a brace. I cracked it down the middle, so it was flapping about. I had to wear a brace for about, I remember as a kid, probably 3 months. So hopefully that's not, I have no idea. I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that, clearly, but hopefully he can recover quickly. So I think he was starting to do some good stuff. We were saying in the agreement, weren't we, just before we was coming on with all of us, that it's just a bit, it's not even negative. It's just a bit like, 2-2. If you look at the game, and I know we've reviewed the game already, but if you look at that game, it's probably a fair result in a sense of, like, if we'd have won it, it would have been a fucking smash and grab. And if they'd have won it, it would have been a smash and grab. So it's kind of like a draw's probably about the right result. But it's the manner of the way it feels like a defeat because you're done. Of course, it's 10 men as well, 96th minute or whatever it was. There's just no I think the word I'm going to use with the injuries as well as the performances, Rick, is consistency. We've got no kind of. We were saying, weren't we, Billy, in agreement before about, are we swapping this geezer out and then that player's coming, that player.
There's not much rhythm, is there?
Yeah, there's no, you know what I mean? And it just feels like, especially at home, it's weird as well because at home in Europe, we're saying like 22 unbeaten or something like that, and then
we are
in the Premier League. We can't win. Seems like we can't win at the moment, doesn't it?
Can't get a win at home at the moment in the Premier League. We can't. We're going to come on to that. We are. I mean, Bill, just to come back to this injury situation, how much of a concern is that? Muani, I mean, given what people might think of Richarlison, there's some that are, very much still in defence of him. There's some that just feel he's not the right man for Spurs moving forward, given the nature of that display against Man United. Yes, he scored, but you could argue if the ball hit anywhere else, you'd be concerned where it was going to go. The injuries that we've racked up, 12 at the moment in terms of the first team. Muani, the latest. I think you were suggesting that possibly, this is not to put words in your mouth, I think you said that maybe he can play with maybe a brace. I mean, Gage and Muani, difficult to know until we know obviously more news on it, but not good news for Tottenham.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame because I think he was as Lee said, he was starting to come good. Like, he had some really good moments in the Copenhagen game. He missed a couple of chances, but that assist for Odegaard was outstanding. Interesting thing that I just want to touch on real quickly. A thread by Nathan A. Clark about Xavi. So he's done a deep dive. I'm not going to go over it all because, I know we're talking about Muani here, but doing a deep dive about the times that Tottenham find Xavi in danger zone. And since that's happened, since he joined, we found him 52 times, which averages about 3 a game, which is nowhere near enough, obviously. Interestingly, that's improving over the last few games, particularly Copenhagen and Man United. Big problem is, guess who's by far at the top of that list for finding Xavi? It's Kolo Muani by a considerable distance. Leads that list by over 1.3 times a game. So I think he was starting to build a really good understanding with Xavi, which I think is going to be, we're obviously not going to be missing his goals because he hasn't scored any yet. But I think his overall link-up play is much better than some of our alternatives. So that's, I think, will be a big loss. And I think, zooming out big picture, I think any manager would really struggle with the injuries that we have right now. The fact that Thomas Frank has never been able to play Solanke, Maddison, Kulusevski in any game this season is mad. Some of the other names as well are unfortunate, but those 3 in particular, Solanke, Maddison, Kulusevski, and now Muani, and Kudus as well, even included in that. That's our attacking. That is most of our attacking play gone. And so I think the fact, as we'll talk on about in a bit, the fact that we're still sort of in touch and distance of the top 4 is something to be glad about. I think personally, I think you can only really judge Frank when we get some of these bloody players back, mate. But how often have we been saying that over the last few years? It's just I don't know what's going on, because this is different to last season, because these are not muscle injuries. They're now like contact injuries. So we've gone from having muscle injuries every week to contact injuries every week. It's just, it's maddening, mate. It's absolutely maddening. I don't know what happens to this football club, how we can be so cursed, because it's not a medical team issue, because we've sacked all those. And it's not a muscle injury issue, because they're now contact injuries, including players getting knocked out and jaws broken. You just can't make it up, mate. Honestly, it's crazy.
Levy's gone now. We want to leave out. Levy's gone. We're still getting injuries.
Can't blame him anymore for the injury. Yeah, still, now we've got 11 injuries now.
Yeah, I mean, Ash, just bring you in. I know you're a man that we love your tactics when you come on the show and you give us some really great stuff around the tactics. But how hard is that right now, Ash? You look at the injury list that we've got there. I mean, there's a good, probably 5 to 6 players you'd say that would go into the first team, right? So are we just cursed, Ash? Is there more to this? I mean, how frustrating is it to lose Callum Muani, where, like Bill and Mac have just said there, was coming into a little bit of form?
Yeah, it's like we've got a starting squad there, like that's injured. That 11 there, apart from a goalkeeper, you could probably fill that team out. But a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I might suggest that when we did have Son, who picked up an injury for the eye socket, he wore a face mask. Also, we had Kulusevski, who had an injury as well to the face. He wore a mask as well, and actually he played some of his best football in a mask. So I'm just suggesting maybe we could put Muani in some type of mask. We'll call it like Mask Crusaders. I don't know. I'm just saying that might cut down the amount of time he's actually out for.
Alex Scott has done it before with a broken jaw as well, Bournemouth player. So it's not unheard of.
So the point I'm making is that that might be some time that he might be able to come back a bit quicker. However, it's a blow. It is what it is. He's getting some type of form. He's getting some type of rhythm. Unfortunately, he hasn't scored, and now you don't have a lot of time with lone players, because you literally have the season to kind of hit the ground running. And when you're not hitting the back of the net, an injury like this is not going to do you any favors. And also, he came back from a dead leg and he missed the pre-season. So he, again, wasn't going to hit the ground running, was trying to find form, find sharpness, understand his teammates, to understand the way they play. And it's interesting that Billy spoke about, and also Maka spoke about, rhythm and understanding your teammates, because I think that's very important in terms of chemistry, trying to create a bond, get like players understanding where they're meant to be, etc., link up play, and then finding the back of the net. That would be the final piece. So unfortunately for us, Muani's out, but I'm sure we're going to talk about it. It opens the door for someone else. And I'll let you speak about that, Ricky.
Yeah, Ash, thank you so much for that little tee up there. I mean, at this point, I know we've got over a couple of thousand here. So again, thank you ever so much for all your support for Last Word on Spurs. I'll just say this now: if you want to get interactive with us on the panel and the live chat, which again is quite a busy chat as always on here, if you hit that subscribe button, that will allow you into that live chat. Also, you got to hit that subscribe button that will allow you into the live chat. If you can keep liking and subscribing and hyping on the show, that would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, we're asking you to hype now, along with like and subscribe. One man that could fill the void of Callum Muani is a certain youngster that has a number of loans and was spoken about by Thomas Frank on Friday. Let's hear what Thomas Frank had to say about the man that could potentially play a role now in the next few weeks for Tottenham.
I think with Dane, first and foremost, I think he's a great player. I think he's a fantastic finisher. He finishes at a very, very high level, left and right foot. I think probably he need the bit that every player needs. He needs to play minutes and games. That's the biggest thing. And right now the competition is tough here. And to be able to give him, let's say, 3, 4, 5 games in a row is probably a little bit difficult. It's never impossible, but it's a little bit difficult. So for me, he needs to play games.
So there you go. That was Thomas Frank there on Dane Scarlett. Maka, I'm going to come over to you. Really interesting thread, like Bill has also acknowledged on X. This is from Owen at THFC. And Owen says it may be hard to imagine now, but Harry Kane was in this identical situation to Dane Scarlett at the age of 21. He's the same age now, Dane, being 21 as well. Harry came off the bench to score a winner at Villa Park, as we all remember. That happened in November. And up until that point, he didn't start a single league match this season. He was behind Adebayor and Soldado in the pecking order. This goal made Harry get a chance in the starting lineup, and he never looked back since, ending up with 21 league goals when his first start came in November. Let's hope Dane can have his very own Villa Park moment after the international break. Owen also followed up and said the similarities don't end there. This was Mauricio Pochettino's debut season. It was a relatively slow start. Fans were impatient and starting to want him gone. You could argue that for some fans, not all fans, the same thing is happening now to Thomas Frank at this early stage. It's often not said only that that Villa game did save Pochettino's job, but also at the same time kick-started the Mauricio Pochettino era. One statement win with a player like Dane Scarlett bagging the winner would give such a lift in all parts of the club, from the staff to the fans. That's where the momentum started to roll. A really good tweet there from Owen. I just want to get your thoughts on it, because there'll be many suggesting out there that maybe from what they've seen from Dane Scarlett so far, they may not have seen enough. But where are you, Macca, on the opportunity that maybe presents itself now for Dane Scarlett to get games after the international break, where, as we know, he may not start, but could be involved in a North London derby away at Arsenal?
Wow, I mean, that would be some story, wouldn't it? From Kane to Dane. I think Binya guys just said a few more in there as well in terms of Mane and Sane. But there, yeah, Kane to Dane. Could it happen? Yes. Should it happen? Probably. I mean, I think, you know, when I mean, John Lewis is obviously one of our own. He knows everything about the youth coming through. He's absolutely buzzing to have Dane coming into this squad. What age was he? 16 and a half, something like that, maybe 17. He's been around the first team squad for a long time. People were saying he's not strong enough, or Kane was a bit stronger, or whatever. But I think I just said to you in agreement, didn't I, Rick? I think Dane's really filled out as well now, and maybe it is his time. I mean, you look at some of these other youngsters that are in and around. I don't want to throw names around because you immediately start comparing them, but I'm just comparing them from an age perspective. I mean, 21 now is the time, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of players at top football clubs around the world that are doing it at 17, 18, 19. I'm not having a go at Dane saying, oh, we should have done it by that point. I'm saying that, hey, he's 21 now. This is actually probably his time to come in. So football's a funny, one of our greatest ever players said it brilliantly, did he? Football's a funny old game. And maybe sometimes you need that injury. Like you just said, that what Owen had written on X, you know, it was Kane. Yes, it was a masterclass, as it were, from Sherwood with his gilet on. But ultimately, it was a bit of let's just throw him in and see what kind of happens, because we need something to happen. The difference with that season, though, was that we didn't have Champions League football. We did have Europa League football. That's a different way. And he started to bed him in. He was playing Kane first in the Europa League, and that's where he started to rack up some of them 21 goals that you just referenced before we even then started to play in the Premier League as well. So, and Dane won't have that because we've got Champions League. So obviously it is a higher standard of competition. That said, you know, oh, and by the way, we're out of the Carling Cup. What's it called now? Carabao Cup. Coca-Cola Cup. We're out of that, by the way, which is a shame. So we can't play through there. So look, I mean, we just said about the rhythm and the consistency and so on and so forth. People are going to hate me for saying it as well. Richarlison, you know, he's more, you know, it's difficult to watch, isn't he? But, you know, he scored. So, you know, all of a sudden he might go again and go again and go again. And next thing you know, he scored 4 or 5 on a trot. He gets the momentum. You just don't know, do you? But again, that's football. So I can't see Thomas Frank dropping Richarlison and putting Dane Scarlett to start against Arsenal. I can't see that happening. That said, that doesn't mean that Dane's not going to get opportunities. And if he does, he has to take him now. And he knows that. And everyone on this panel, everyone in the chat, and everyone watching this knows that he needs to take him. And that's where the pressure comes. And that's not me putting pressure on him.
No.
It's time. You're 21 now. Let's go. Come on, baby. Yeah. You've got the skill. We know. I mean, Jose Mourinho, when did he manage our football club team? Was in COVID, like Jose was in
very complimentary thing, wasn't he?
Years ago.
Very complimentary,
and it was very complimentary of him. And that bloke knows a footballer. I would take a guess at. So you know, I've never heard any bad things about Dane. He's gone on loans, and yeah, some of them loans ain't worked out, but nor did Kane's. Kane was at Millwall. Kane was at like Leicester. Like they weren't absolutely brilliant loans, but when he got an opportunity, he just did it. And I love, just to finish off, I'll stop waffling on, but I love the Defoe interview. We were lucky enough to interview Defoe, weren't we, on the show a few Christmases ago, Rick? Yeah. And then he came out and talked about kind of giving the number 18 shirt down from the Klinsmann to the Defoe, for obviously the Defoe taking that and then giving it, and then the Kane using it, and then playing him and Kane. And I don't know, there's just a bit of magic there with Kane and Dane and one of our own. And you don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just being too romantic about it. It's not the FA Cup, is it? Let's be fair. No,
listen, I think, again, it's hard. Some might argue we're really stretching by even suggesting this. I mean, Bill, look, like he said in that little clip there, Thomas Frank, I think he's a fantastic finisher. He finishes at a very, very high level. It's difficult to give him 4 or 5 games in a row. It's not impossible, but difficult. He needs to play games. Well, look, Thomas Frank, you are the manager. Is he maybe now being forced into a decision where he's got to give him games, given our lack of forward options right now? I know Richarlison scored at the weekend, but I did feel in the stadium there was a lot of frustration around Richarlison, right? And, you know, the behaviour at times does really great on people. Where are you, Bill, in relation to maybe Dane getting an opportunity now?
First year, I think every time Dane has played for us over the last couple of seasons, he's looked really good. I think Europa League last year, and in the short minutes that he's got this season, he looks good every time that he comes on. My big worry in terms of minutes for him was, I would imagine that Tell's probably ahead of him in the pecking order as well. And when you play with one striker and you're playing Champions League, like Lee said, Dane Scarlett is not going to start a game in the Champions League. I can't see it. Dane Scarlett is also unlikely to start ahead of Tell in the Premier League. So it's going to be quite tricky. He's going to have to get rotated for one of those as a sub, maybe in the 60-minute, then come on and score. You know, he's got more chance of that now that Muani and Solanke are at the pecking order, but I still think he's third in that pecking order at the moment. So he's still not, I don't think he's ahead of Tell at the moment. I think Tell, you know, that goal that he scored against Man United, really high quality goal. And there's flashes of Tell, and let's not forget Tell is 2 years younger than Dane Scarlett himself. So it's tricky for Dane Scarlett. I think he needs a Kane Aston Villa moment. That's exactly what he needs, and he might get it. You never know. Football's a funny moment, but then, you know, Tell scored in the last Premier League game. Richarlison scored in the last Premier League game, and with the caliber of opposition that we've got coming up next month, it's going to be really, really struggle. I think, unfortunately, because I think Lee is exactly right. I think we're all kind of, you know, Richarlison is out of form at the moment, even though he scored. I think a lot of the stuff that he's trying is not coming off. But I think Richarlison is going to start against Arsenal, right? Like, for that game, you have to have the experience and the sort of and also the physicality as well. You know, Scarlett and Tell are not physical strikers, either of them, really. So I would suggest that Richarlison will probably start that game. So I think it's going to be tricky for Dane. I would absolutely love it, mate. It would be a brilliant story. But I think we've got 2 young strikers there that are competing, and a striker, Richarlison. You know, Frank's going to have to make some tough calls there. But I just think with the caliber of the opposition that we've got coming up, Arsenal, PSG, Newcastle away, I think Richarlison is probably going to get the nod in those games, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said there, Bill, we've got some very, very big games coming up, and you may be right. It maybe would be a stretch to see Dane start the games. I mean, arguably, would he feature? I mean, Ash, bringing you in there, I'm just going to pull up these comments that Jasmine had said about Dane Scarlett at the time, and he said on Dane that he's a diamond, a kid with incredible potential. He also went on to say that for him, I believe he will be a first-team player at Tottenham. He's going to be a fantastic player, and I hope anything goes around him as well. He's a striker. He's a number 9. I have been playing with him from the side, similar to when I had Rashford at Manchester United. He's a very, very clever player. He's an incredible talent. I don't want to speak too much about him because, again, when I arrived in the building here, the kid's boss is going to kill me. But I do want to make it clear. I think this kid's got a very, very exciting future at the club. He just needs to keep pressing on in training sessions and prove his worth. Ash, where are you on maybe this being Scarlett's opportunity, or at least, if not starting, to feature more prominently for Tottenham this season?
First of all, big up to Cochrane. I know he lost his wife a year ago, and I did watch.
What emotion! Well said, Ash. What emotion! What an interview that was.
Yeah, that was a great interview on Sky Sports. And funny enough, before that, I saw an interview with him when he was at Manchester United, and he was talking about Garnacho, and he was talking about his end product. They knew he was a good player, but his decision making was letting him down in the final third. And Garnacho likes to, he said the words were chop. He likes to chop to get it onto his stronger foot to shoot. And then Cochrane said that don't chop anymore. Your left is good enough. Start striking with your left. And what happens? He scores. Chelsea, he just got a hat-trick of assists, playing on that left-hand side, using his left foot, getting shots off, and he's starting to do well at Chelsea now. And he's mentioning, like, they called him Chops. That was his nickname, Chops, 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 to get into his head to stop doing that maneuver. The point I'm making here is we've got Cochrane, who's really good at developing young players. He's seen the likes of Kobe Mainu, do you know what I mean, at Manchester United. He's worked with a lot of young talents like Rashford, etc. And so if we are to work with someone like Dane Scarlett, I would think these guys could get the best out of him. I'm not saying this season, I'm not trying to jump on that train, but Justin, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to improve players. I think you've seen some improvements already. Some players that I don't even like, but I've seen small improvements. Brennan being one of them. I'll be honest with you. I thought Brennan, in terms of trying to take his man on, get on the outside, whip crosses in. He actually whipped a cross in for Richarlison, and I thought, had Muani not got elbowed in the face 17 minutes into the game, they wouldn't have swapped over, because that's one thing I did notice, that Richarlison went up front and Muani went to the left. As he received that knock, he kind of went out to the other side. And then that's when Brennan Johnson got that cross on his weaker foot, on his left foot, flowed one in, and Richarlison missed the header. And then obviously on the other end, a few minutes later, not a few minutes later, but later on down the line, they had a cross, went to Mbumo, and they scored their header. Do you know what I mean? And football's fine margins like that. But yeah, I agree with the panel at the moment. I think Tell would have felt unlucky not getting into this Champions League side, and he's now looking for his chance. He's actually grabbed it. Obviously, he's got the goal against Manchester United on the weekend, and now he's looking to kick on. You don't get many chances at this level. The difference between Tell maybe and someone like Dane is that he's got minutes underneath his belt, playing for the academy at Bundesliga, playing at France as well for Rennes. So, and then obviously last season he got 6 months of Premier League football. I was impressed by Dane Scarlett when he came on at Ipswich last season, and he got the assist. He got a lovely little flick on, and we managed to score a goal, and we ended up winning the game 3-1 at Loftus Road against Ipswich. And then again, as Billy's already mentioned, in that Europa League stint, he came on, he showed flashes again, got his goal, and you're like, right, there's a player there. So for me personally, I just want to see him involved a lot more. And when he gets his chance, I would like him to grab it by the shirt. But yeah, I think this guy is obviously he's 21, slightly older than Tell, we said already. But has this come too soon? Has this opportunity come too soon? Who knows? But yeah, I've got a lot of hopes. It's a bit funny though. Just the last point. I remember a while back when Jose Mourinho was in charge, and we had another young player, and everyone's like, "You got to play him. He's class. He's going to be our future." The next Parrot. I remember it like yesterday. Yeah. And I was like, "Get Parrot in," and obviously it didn't quite work for him. But I think technically that Dane Scarlett is better than Richarlison. I'll be honest, bro. From what I've seen, I think he's got a better technical base than what Richarlison has at the moment. But that's just my opinion.
I tell you what, I think why that is because we're all just chasing the next Harry Kane, aren't we? We had it once.
We are.
Yeah. And all 100%. Of these strikers that come through get labelled the next Kane. We all do it. Troy Parrott got done. Yeah. Dane is the next one because we won that again. We had it so good. We had the best ever academy product in the history of the Premier League. We just won it again.
Yeah, no, you're right, Bill. You're right. And I've got to say, just a shout on that. If anyone hasn't had a chance to watch that interview on Sky, terrific interview with Justin Cochrane on Sky, lost his wife a year ago. Really, really, listen, you wouldn't want to watch an interview in those kind of tragic circumstances, but a real top guy. And when you watch that interview, I think, you look at someone like that and you think you're proud to have him as part of the football club. Look, we're going to go for our first break of the show.
Interesting as well, just before, sorry, jump in. Mason Mealy has joined us as well now. So, another striker, another 18-year-old striker.
Yeah, Mason Mealy.
Finished in Ireland now, so.
Interesting. Yeah, like I say, he'll be with us in January, won't he? So it'll be interesting to see, Bill, what actually happened with Mason Mealy, whether they will throw him into the first team, which I think was the plan, and whether he will be gradually integrated in. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Look, we're going to go for our first break of the show. Next, we're going to discuss where we are on Thomas Frank, and Macca is going to start us off on where we are under Frank Ball right now. Macca, you said, and this is not to put words in your mouth, in your intro, you said it's low handbrake football right now. I think there's a degree, like when we actually brought up those injuries there, and like I say, guys out there, thanks so much all the way for the support for the show, and we really appreciate it. Just keep liking and subscribing. That would be greatly appreciated. That our current injury list at the moment, just so everybody knows where we stand: no Cullen Muani, no Kudus, no Takai, no Solanke, no Gray, Bergvall, obviously that concussion protocol, Davis, Basuma, Dragashin, Madison, Kulusevski, all out. They'll be suggesting that, we've got to appreciate, just the amount of injuries and how it's difficult then in terms of how we're trying to, as a team, move forward, progress the ball at times, because there's an argument we've got 6 or 7 starters out at the moment. Many will suggest maybe that given Spurs, they finished 17th last season, that we were appalling, and given we have a lot of players out right now, we've got a new manager that's trying to bed these players in, and we are in a position where, in terms of the league table, we're in the top 6. What are we at the moment? We're 8 points off the top. We're also 8 points off the bottom. But table-wise, we're in a good place in the Champions League. We're still unbeaten. Where are you, Mac? Because it does feel for a lot of match-going fans out there that we align the pod to, as you know, that it does feel there's some disgruntlement right now in the camp. Where would you align how you're feeling right now, Macaron, Thomas Frank and Tottenham at the moment as we go into this international break?
It's hard. It's really different. It's a bit kind of like, look, I'm a season ticket holder, and I've been doing the show with you, Rick, now, 7, 8 years? And, I remember going through some times where literally I'm on the same amount of time as you. Like, literally, you couldn't get rid of me. And, full on. And it was, Tottenham Hotspur took most of us, if not all of us, is our life. And I just feel a bit like, I said this on the last week, I just feel a bit like we achieved what we wanted to achieve in a sense of a trophy, to get the trophy off the back and to do all that stuff. I mean, look at these scenes, man. And it just feels like we've forgotten that. And it's not about looking back and and wishing that we were there again, because we haven't had the opportunity to win anything yet this season. However, I just feel that with the change that's happened with the managers and the squad, some of the squad turnover, and it's going to take time to get into the new swing of things. And one of the things that, again, I can't speak for anyone else. You guys can say your own thing, and obviously let us know in the comments as well. But I don't think we've had. I know it makes a good point about the Kane thing, right? Because Poch was under pressure. That he was probably going to get fired, right? Let's have it right. Levy used to love sacking managers rather than himself. So, and he was probably going to sack Poch, but he didn't. And look what happened. And I don't think we've had a level of balanced football, consistent football, an identity of our team since Poch. Now, Ange had an identity. Conte had an identity, yeah. Jose had an identity. I'm going to test you now on the graphics, yeah. Here we go. Look at that. You got them all out. Love that. All of these managers that you see on screen for the listeners, we've got Poch and Jose and Ange and Conte and Nuno on there. They all have an identity. However, it's not the identity of what most, not all, but what most Tottenham Hotspur fans want. And I meet, like all we do, right? I meet lots and lots and lots of hardened Spurs fans, right? That go every week, home and away, season ticket holders, people that don't go, people that watch it from home, people in different countries. And the one common theme is our value, our core principle as a club, as a tribe, is to go front foot attacking football. That we've always been at. Whether or not we've been good at it or not, we've been soft in the middle, whether, don't worry, Man United, Fergie, don't worry, lads, it's Tottenham. Whatever, we've always had that about us. And we just haven't got that. We didn't get it right with Van Driver. So this isn't about an Ange thing, right? Yes, we won a trophy, and yes, I like...
Let you come back in. I just want to be clear, you've got to separate the two, right? If you're critiquing... I just got to say this again. If you are critiquing Thomas Frank, it does not mean you want Ange Postecoglou back. You can critique Thomas Frank, and not that means you want Ange back. Macca, carry on.
Yeah, for sure. And look, you mentioned it earlier as well. Like Arteta he's had the reins at Arsenal now for what, 6 years, and they may go and win the league. They may well go and win it, or they'll probably bottle it like they normally do in April, right? But and again, a lot of us go, "Oh, don't say that, Macca," but why not? Because they do it every year. So at the end of the day, he may go on and win the big prize with them, but he's had them reins for 6 years. So it's very extremely harsh to turn around and say, "Oh, Thomas Frank, get out after 11 games." So where I'm at the moment is kind of a bit like, we didn't deserve to win the game yesterday, and we didn't probably deserve to lose the game yesterday. So it's a draw, and that's just how the season feels. Like we're fifth, but there's like 500 other teams on the same amount of points as us. So one draw, one loss, we'll probably be in the bottom three. Do you see what I mean? So it's just a bit like, and then obviously you've got all the injuries as well. So I'm not excited, Rick. I think that's the key thing. I'm not looking forward. I'm not negative. I'm just not looking forward.
Yeah.
I'm just it's just a bit like, well, okay, great.
Let's come over
to
you.
No,
it does. It does. No, I think there's a general feeling at the moment of.
Yeah, us away,
and I
think we're all right away from home. It's just the home thing. Like we're scared. I called him the handbrake man. Just like, take the fucking handbrake off. Like, he got rid of the double pivot. Great, yeah. Get rid of double pivot at home. So he's got Sarr in there and Palhinha.
Yeah.
But Bentancur had the best game in a Spurs shirt this season against.
And so did Odebear. And
so
again, we know how important the doggy is in build-up. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, so is that a manager thing? Is that a rotation thing? Is our doggy not fit enough? I mean, we don't know all the stats. He's in the red zone, the yellow zone, whatever zone they're in. It just feels a bit. Look, what I would say is this: he is clearly still trying to find his best.
Of course, and he said that, and he has said that.
Players, and actually, the teams that go and win the leagues, it's the bizarrest thing that actually, if you go back and I'll do some stats actually when I shut up in a minute and let everyone else talk, right? I'll go and I'll do some stats, but it's a bizarre thing. The teams that win leagues and win championships, they don't actually. I know they say we need big squads, there's too much football. They don't actually move their players around that much. Like, I bet if you looked at this is the Liverpool's issue. Liverpool are literally constantly moving because they're trying to find their feet. They spent so much money. We're thinking, mate, they're going to walk the league. They're having a shocker. Do you see what I mean? So he's finding his feet. We are finding our feet as a club under new tenureship, and obviously as fans, we are getting a little. Well, some of us are getting a bit like, oh, whatever. But and you can feel that energy. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, no, that makes a good point. You need a bit of a spark. Maybe you do need something to
light the touch paper,
light the fuse. Yeah.
That's fair. Bill, let's come on to you with regards to where we are under Frank. Because again, we'll make that clear. We are in a pretty good position table-wise in terms of the Premier League. We're unbeaten in the Champions League. I think, there has got to certainly be a degree of patience being shown. I think what doesn't help, as we know, is that the home form is a massive, massive issue for us. We know that, we've avoided a full loss at home against Manchester United, but they've still claimed just 2 points from our past 5 games at that stadium. And in terms of the United game, we had 10 shots on goal with 4 on target. With 97 successful final third passes to United's 52. But they took a point at home after being behind in the 84th minute. But it does feel like we've thrown away 2 in the process. I made that point. We're winless in our past 18 Premier League games when conceding first, having lost 14 and drawn 4, which just shows really at the moment, we are finding it really hard to find our way back into games and to go on and hold off an opponent coming back into them, right? We're just finding it really hard to get over the line with regards to wins. Where are you, Bill? Because you are quite a positive supporter. Patience, I think, for some is what's being called for. Are you patient about where we are at the moment, Bill, for you?
Yeah, I'm patient about where we're at the moment. I think, this is if Thomas Frank is going to be the man for us, we're talking about a long-term project here, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Again, as Lee said, you only have to look to that lot down the road to see patience is one thing that's required. And then less, in a more immediate sense, Man United, same as well. They stuck by Ruben Amorim, some horrific results. They're starting to see some good ones now. Patience is required for sure. I think let's start with the positives. I think we're broadly maybe ahead of schedule. I think going from 17th last season to where we are in the league now, and I know we've been through all the caveats of what happened last season and the injuries, etc. But to be in the top 4 race is fine. If you'd have said the second international break we'd be above Liverpool in the table, above Man United in the table, great, that's fine. And I think the biggest positive I can give overall is he has certainly made us more solid at the back. I think that's the key thing that you would have to attribute to Frank at the moment, is that we're definitely more solid at the back. My concerns would be going forward. I think yesterday that stat came on screen that only Burnley have had less shots than us in the Premier League. That is not acceptable for Tottenham Hotspur in any shape or form. As Lee said, we're an attacking football team. We're one of the most expensive squads in the Premier League. We're a Big Six team. It's unforgivable that we have the second lowest amount of shots in the Premier League. That is not sustainable for Tottenham Hotspur. What I would say is in the last couple of home games, it's been slightly better. Chelsea was an absolute horror show completely. But Copenhagen and Man United, things are starting to look a bit better. What I will say for Thomas Frank, my concern is that maybe he's being a little bit too cautious in some of these big games and a little bit too overcautious in Man United. But it's not something to say that I think you're going to address that. I think yesterday, for example, he spoke about choosing to play, choosing to rotate Odegaard and Udogie for tactical reasons. For me, that's concerning because I think, and as Lee said, we don't know our best team yet. For me, in our best team, Odegaard and Udogie have to be starting on the left-hand side. Like we've seen our best attacking football every single time that they play, and our build-up is much better with Udogie on the left, Odegaard on the left. So I'd like to see a little bit less caution and a little bit more bravery playing against a team like Man United. I think yesterday, if we started Odegaard and Udogie, we win that game comfortably. And I think the fact that maybe he was going into that game trying not to lose by playing Richarlison and Muani, spoke about the defensive work, but that will happen at the beginning of a project. You know, you don't want to, you know, if you lose 5 games at the beginning of your project, you probably go looking at a new project. You'll look at a new manager. So I can understand that. My concern would be if we're playing like this at the end of the season, then I'd be a bit more concerned than I am now. And again, you can't talk about any of these things, I don't think, without mentioning the injuries. Like any manager is going to struggle with a ridiculous amount of injuries, particularly to our attacking players. So I'm broadly positive about Thrang. I think it's been a good start. It's been absolutely fine. I think fine is the word that I would use. I'm not excited by it like I was in the first 10 games under Ange, going, you know, we might win the bloody league here. But it's been fine. It's been a steady ship. And that's what we knew we were getting with Frank, right? He's a steady manager. You know, Tottenham, my concern is Tottenham fan base are not a steady fan base. We don't like steady. We like crazy. So, and we are crazy. So that may be not a best fit. We maybe don't know what to do now that we've got a steady manager because we're not used to it.
Yeah, it's anything but crazy at the moment, which I think we've been so used to me and Macca doing this for 8 years. We've been so used to it being crazy, which Macca called it a crazy train. If anything, Macca, it's more of a steady train.
Steady Eddie, isn't it? Steady Eddie.
Steady. And some people don't like Steady Eddie, right? People do like chaos. You know, I think we've been used to chaos on this show.
We're not a Steady Eddie team. Let's put it right. Let's have it right. We're not.
No, you're right. If anything, we're not Steady Eddie at the moment in terms of consistency, in terms of home to away form.
Yeah,
Tottenham, bring you in.
We just can't have that steady hand. It just doesn't fit us, does it? We need someone crazy. Like that's what we need.
This is a great point. That's a great point in the match. I want steady with some courage. We'll go Ash.
Just quickly before we bring Ash in, we're talking about kind of Ange and like the first 10 games. Billy just pulled that up there, so I just thought I'd get some statistics. The first 10 games under Ange's first, you know, you can't say last season, his first season, we had 26 points after 10 games. Which weirdly enough is higher than what Arsenal have got after 10 games, and they're top of the league, and we think they're going to win it. And we had that under Ange. Interestingly, though, we conceded 9 goals under Ange in them first 10 games, but we scored 22, which is a huge amount. So we were just like ripping it up or whatever. And bearing in mind, one of them was a Luton away, wasn't it? 1-0 win, and we should have been ruining Luton. Thomas Frank has delivered us 17 points after the first 10 games. So 1.7 points per game ratio rather than 2.6. So that's a huge difference. But interestingly, 2 less goals shipped under Thomas. But this is the column. The column is he's only scored 12 goals in the first 10 games. There's the column. And that is what exactly it's just highlighting. It doesn't have to be against Ange, but it's just highlighting. These are what we're saying is this is the shift that we've been doing. Yeah. If you think about Poch, full on attacking, unbelievable, best defensive record as well in that second season after the title race when we had a proper title race. And I know he had bedded them in, but we scored goals for fun all over the place. It was fantastic. After that, we've had defensive manager or counter-attacking, then a defensive caretaker, then a defensive manager. Then we've gone fucking chaos, chaotic football, Ange. Wait, let's go. And then we've gone maybe more pragmatic manager again. Let's not say defensive yet. So that's the journey that we're going on as fans, isn't it? We're like, man, what's going on here?
Do you know what's crazy? The minute you give a small sample size about Ange in the 10 games, again, people just seem to think you want him back. And again, I will make it very, very clear. Mac has just done some analysis there, just purely on the first 10 games. Again, it's not to say we want Ange back or anyone want Ange back. It's a small sample size. But it's crazy you come to a point where you can't even mention someone's 10 games.
Well, again, Conte, if you look at Conte, just to give some balance in case I want Conte back now. But Conte wasn't a kind of a counter-attacking, defend first manager, don't lose first. If you can't win, don't lose. That was a mentality. But he was having 7 shots on target on average. I've got him in the blue book. 7 shots on target. I don't think we've had 7 shots on target at all in a game under Thomas Frank. Do you see where I'm coming from? And even
definitely not consistency back to back. I don't think we've had so far.
I don't think we've actually had any at all. I actually don't think we've actually had 7 shots on target. I don't think we actually have.
Yeah.
But when you look at Ange, there was games that were absolute dross under Ange. I wouldn't know it.
And also the second set of 10 games under Ange would be not great either.
Isn't it? The evolution of managers is the decision making that we brought with these different types of managers. Sorry.
No, you're fine, mate. You're fine. Ash, just go to you. Look, I mean, the United game, to briefly touch upon it, because we have done the United game itself. I mean, the weird thing is the subs did work, but only after he picked the wrong selection, right? I mean, we've said it on the show, and Billy's outlined it there. We know how important a doggy is in build-up. I mean, Odegaard played ever so well against Copenhagen. Why not reward him and give him the opportunity to go and shine against Manchester United? And again, I think we're now seeing at the moment with Xavi Simons that arguably, in order to get the best out of him, you are going to need to have Callum Muani up front. You are going to have Wilson Odegaard on the field. And you are going to need to also arguably have Destiny Doggy there. So there's a fine line, I think, between praising Frank for making game-changing substitutions, but also acknowledging the fact the players that we're mentioning here should have started. Where are you, Ash, quickly, in terms of Frank right now for you in these opening 10, 11 games? Because some are arguing the table is the only thing that matters. But I also think what's really important here, I was speaking to Mac about this in the green room, the eye test, I think, is also massive. After 11 games, I'm not looking at the table looking at the fact we're in the top 4. I'm looking at what my eyes are seeing. What are your eyes telling you, Ash?
I wouldn't even look at the table at the start of the season. It's 10 games in. It's too early. For the first 10 games of a new manager, trying to get his ideas across, he's trying to get defensive strategies across to his team. He saw, obviously, what happened last season, how many goals we conceded last season, and he thought to address that first. I think in Ange's first 10 games, just to go back to that, nobody knew about his tactics. He was pretty much unknown. And I think that caught a lot of teams off guard and they didn't know how to prepare for him. I think with Frank, he's been in the Premier League for 3 seasons, I believe, or if not more. And so people are a little bit more clued up to how he plays and how he sets up. I think when Frank was going towards Manchester United, trying to set up for him, he knew that Manchester United weren't strong in defending crosses into the box. So he thought it might be a good idea to have a double threat of Richarlison and Muani. Now, obviously, the drawback of that is that you're losing width because, yes, you've got Richarlison on the left, but he doesn't hug that touchline. He doesn't give you width. He doesn't open up that pitch. He doesn't give you that ability, that 1v1 ability to take players away. And unfortunately, Spence is more of a inverted fullback where he likes to attack the inside channel, the pocket or the half space. And so Spurs were kind of lopsided, in my opinion. And that's what made it easier for Manchester United to kind of cancel us out. Also, I noticed when Manchester United were defending, and it's not just Manchester United, it's other teams as well. They like to defend centrally and they like to compact and condense the midfield. And so it's really hard to play through their block, which was five defenders, four midfielders, and then one that's a striker up top. And so when we had the ball, we had 3 players at the back, being Van der Ven, Romero, and Porro. And when they were in position, we had we had Paulinho and Sarr in front of them. Now, because they were being marked out of the game by 4 other players, meaning midfielders. You had Xavi playing behind the lines, in between the lines. He was in between the 4 and the 5, if that makes sense. And Paulinho, what he tried to do was drift wide to create a passing channel that when Porro was on the ball, he could spray it and find players like Muani, or if Romero was on the ball, he tried to punch it through the lines into maybe a Richarlison or into a Xavi, because they had that compact block. But the problem is, at the moment, we don't have rotations in that midfield because of the profiles of the players we have. You can't really have Xavi Simons swapping with a Paulinho or Xavi Simons swapping with a Sarr, because they're completely different profiles. And what you're finding is, there was times when Xavi would get on the ball, he'd look around, and then there was about 3 or 4 Manchester United players around him, because no one else was running in behind him. No one was running beyond him. And I think, for me, it's a bit of a profile issue. And we know that Frank likes physical players that are strong. And I think that's what he went for against Manchester United. He knows about Bruno. Bruno's a bit more risk averse. Casemiro, he's physical, but he hasn't got legs. So he thought, what we'll do is, when Man United try to go long, because that's how Amorim likes to do, he doesn't want to play out from the back. When they play long, that's when we win the ball, and we use our physicality. And Richarlison and Sarr, he's like a second ball magnet. Do you know what I mean? And he was going to suck up the ball in the middle, and then we would hit them on the transition. We win the ball high up, and then that's when we would have our attacks. If you looked at the first 15, 20 minutes, we went man to man. We pressed aggressively. We tried to win that ball up. And then I think the 20 minutes or 15 minutes after that, Manchester United took control, because they started to get a bit more time. And I don't think Spurs have figured out when to press, when to go man to man, when to drop into that mid block, how to condense the pitch, and then how to defend the box when we go into a low block. As we saw for that cross that went in, where they got 3 players on the back post and they overloaded us. And then Mbeumo was by himself, because it was only Porro who wasn't checking his mirrors, and then Johnson, who was running back trying to help him defend, and it ended up in the back of the net, an empty goal. And actually, this is an actual Frank goal. Thomas Frank would have been proud of this goal. But unfortunately, the matchups weren't really well. But look, I'll just finish on this one, because there's a lot I could say on this, but I'll just finish on this. I think the league at the moment, it's not just a Tottenham issue in terms of being entertained.
Totally agree.
It's quite a few clubs. Do you know what I mean? We're not alone, is what I'm saying. But I personally think you need a few more players like a Xavi that can either drop deep, help progress the play, but then you need someone with a bit of magic that can shoot outside from the box and put the ball in the back of the net. I know Frank doesn't like that, but sometimes you need something like that in a league like this, where teams like to low block or block in central areas. You need someone that's different and that cuts you from the rest of the pack. But that's my opinion.
I totally agree. I think the one thing we're all sitting here saying is that no one is sitting here saying that they don't think Thomas Frank's the right man for the job. I think all we're sitting here saying is that there are some concerns. And again, I will caveat that by saying the man at the moment has got 12 injuries. I think, with all due respect to the forwards that we're talking about here, look, we're having a conversation here about Dane Scarlett getting an opportunity to start up front. That's no disrespect to Dane, but that's also going back at, you look at the quality level of forwards that we've got right now, with Muani being injured as well. I mean, Frank really has got his hands tied behind his back. Don't think he also get away from the fact. I think I said this, in the earlier part of the show. He's lost Son, sold, no replacement, no Maddison, no Kulusevski, no Solanke, who's been injured for pretty much the entire season. That is 56 goal contributions from last season gone. We're still the second highest scorers in the league. Just behind City. Perspective is we are in the top 6. So no one is sitting here saying that Thomas Frank should be in danger of losing his job. However, I think, Bill, to come round to you, I mean, this stat that's been doing the rounds, but is a little bit concerning, is that, in that opening half against Man United, we had just had 3 touches in their box. That's the joint fewest in a Premier League home game in the past 10 seasons. There is a feeling, going back to what you're saying, Bill, that I think, again, I'm going to go back to last season for a couple seasons ago. And again, I'm not looking to disrespect anyone here by saying this. We had a previous manager that I thought was very much focused on, really, or not focused on at all about the opposition. I think we've got someone with Thomas Frank that I think is totally and utterly obsessed with the opposition, which isn't a bad thing. But my worry with that is at the same time, are we going to get and find our own identity within that? Is that a fair point, Bill, to raise?
Yeah, it is a fair point. And when you are when you're a manager of Brentford, you have to look at the opposition, because no one's going to come to Brentford and change the way that they're playing because they're playing against Brentford. They're going to do their game plan. Brentford are going to be an afterthought. Tottenham is different. Tottenham, we're the front thought. We are the first thought. Unless we're playing against Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, those kind of teams, we should be imposing on every single team. So I think Thomas Frank's just got to find the balance. Thomas Frank is an incredibly intelligent guy. He is, football analysis to the max. There's no way he doesn't know everything that I'm saying right now. I'm not going to, he's an incredibly smart guy. He will know this as well. It's just about finding the balance of sometimes, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We got to take it to the opposition. Sometimes we got to, have a balance of, stopping the opposition's strength. I think he maybe got the balance wrong yesterday in the first half. In the second half, he addressed it and got it right, and we went on to dominate it. So, this guy is an intelligent guy. No manager can find the balance after, first quarter of a season. It's impossible. So I don't have any doubts that he will do it. I just think at the moment that what will help him is if he's a little bit less cautious, particularly at home, because we are Tottenham Hotspur. Our fans expect attacking football. We're a big football club. We spend a lot of money now relative to the other Premier League teams. We should be the ones that will take it to the opposition, not the other way around. So I think once we address that balance, I'll be really optimistic about the future, because I think it's good. You have to be. I think if you look at even Pep Guardiola now playing against Arsenal, he turned pragmatic, played a low block against Arsenal. This is the best to ever do it in terms of attacking football. Arteta, a very pragmatic manager, also a very attacking manager. I think if you want to be to a very elite level, which Tottenham do want to do, you have to get the balance of pragmatism and attacking football right. And at the moment, we're maybe slightly cautious, but I think that's to be expected at the beginning of someone's tenure. Yeah. And I think, Frank will find that balance. He's a very intelligent guy.
Yeah. Look, I know we're up against the clock here a little bit. Maka, I just need to quickly mention the home form to you. I don't need to mention the home form because you know how bad the home form is right now. The reality is our results at home really have been awful, stretching more than Frank's tenure here, right? Going back to obviously Andy's time at the club. Tottenham, they've now played 21 home Premier League games over the last year. 4 wins, 5 draws, 12 defeats, 17 points from a possible 63. I mean, it's just not good enough, is it, Maka? It's not good enough. And, for fans, I know as you as well, we pay if not some of the highest ticket prices in Europe right now. Yes, they've climbed down over the European fixtures recently. I think they've now repriced the Dortmund game, forgive me, in terms of the Champions League. The home for Maka, as you know, is the kind of bread and butter. When you're going there every fortnight for fans, you do want to see, a brand of football that you feel is progressive, that you can get behind. And I again sit here and say, totally acknowledge the fact he's got 11, 12 players out. I think the forward line is nowhere near good enough. Can he be doing more, Maka, at home to get us playing on the front foot with those deficiencies around the attacking quality that we lack and with the amount of injuries he's having to deal with? Can he do better than what he's doing now, in your opinion?
I think the short answer is yes, but I also think that there's context around that as well. And I think that, there is a hangover. I'm having one today. No, there's a hangover from last season as well. I mean, Match of the Day put up a stat, which is the worst Premier League home record in the calendar year of 2025 for teams in Premier League, both last season and this season. So what they've done is they've rounded up and it's against the 2025, okay? Fulham played 19, 26 points. Wolves played 19, 21 points. West Ham played 20, 20 points. Yeah. Get this. Tottenham, the bottom, played 20, 14 points.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's
terrible.
I mean, this is a 62,000 state-of-the-art £1 billion stadium that we should be. And I do love these football cliches sometimes. The fortress. But it should be the fortress.
It's not, it's anything but a fortress.
We should be off this gaff, and we've had nights. Let's have it right, Tottenham Hotspur fans. We've had nights down there that have been amazing. Like some of them have been amazing. But
the Arsenal game was incredible.
Yeah, the Arsenal game was incredible, and the Bodo game, Bodo was amazing. There's been some fantastic games down there, but they're few and far. And this isn't having a go at the fans. Right? You look at Spurs song sheets, you get THFC flags, all the stuff that they're doing. the concourses, with James and Tim, one of our own, like singing in the concourses and whatever. That vibe is great. But there's something that doesn't transfer. It's the crowd versus the players versus the crowd. There's a mismatch there. So there's definitely no hangover from last season, because our home form and everything last season was absolutely abysmal, and that's just carried on. Again, we said it earlier, didn't we? Football's a funny old game, as Jimmy obviously said, and the reality is that it can turn really quick. I actually thought maybe the Copenhagen game was a bit of a turn, because you got that Mickey van der Ven wonder Puskas goal. Let's hope he wins the Puskas for it, like Sonny did. You got that goal going on, and we went down to 10 men, and we still scored another 2 goals, and the handbrake was off, and it was, you're thinking, here we go. And then, Man United are Man United. At the end of the day, they are Man United. I know they're not the Man United through Fergie, but they're still Manchester United. And to have a 2-2 draw of them, it's not a terrible result, is it? But there's as Jason keeps pointing out in the group, Jason, I know you're watching or listening, he keeps pointing out in the group, yes, we might be unbeaten in Champions League, but the people that we've beaten are 32nd or 33rd in the league. Yes, we might be 5th in the league, but we've only beaten teams that are, relegation fodder. And actually, quite frankly, Wolves are probably going to be struggling with a relegation battle. They're the only team to come and get an away point. That's the only away point they've had. It's at Spurs, and it took a 96 minutes. So you couldn't make this stuff up, could you? So something is definitely, again, I just think it's the chemistry. That's maybe a good word with everything. Like, it takes time.
You're right.
I mean, it takes time to. People, the thing is, right, teams are coming to us. I mean, Jamie just said there, we are soft. Teams are coming to the stadium. They're not worried. They're thinking, we and this is the bit that it's difficult to turn that back around, but I'm not sure quite yet what the answer is. I think it's just maybe what Thomas is doing, just making us getting us a bit more solid, hard to beat, get that in the situations where that you're going there. I think a lot of Spurs fans at home, so I'm in this camp for sure, is I just want to have a go, Rick. Like the Harry Redknapp days. You know what, lads? We're going to have a go. And I think
the word we're looking for is at times a bit more courage. I just think at home at the moment, we're not, it's either not believing or we're not making that place feel like you're going to come and have a really hard game here. And I think that also comes down to application, desire, effort, going for every ball, winning the 50-50s. I just don't see enough of that. I think that does help. I mean, Bill, I know you said this well, and I'll come on to Ash in a second, that, when players go in for 50-50s and win those 50-50s, the crowd then gets up. The crowd responds to the way the players do things on the pitch. It is a two-way street. And I know for many out there, they feel that at times the stadium's been flat, but I tell you, the crowd responds to what they see on the pitch. If they see players that are fighting for every single ball, winning the 50-50s, that will transcend. And because you know what the funny thing about it was, when we was at 1-1 yesterday against United and they had the man go off in Sesko, the fans were sniffing. They were sniffing that a winner was there. And it actually drove the team on to go and get that goal from Richarlison. Right, I'm going to come on to Richie in a second and ask Ash about that. It got us at 2-1, but it was so deflating, to go and have that goal against us in the last minute or so. Ash, let me ask you about Richarlison. There's been a lot of talk about Richarlison, what we feel about him. There's some people that just keep that bloody shirt on, because every time he takes a bloody shirt off, we can't seem to see out a win at the moment. It dates back to, obviously, you go back as far as the Liverpool game at Anfield, never happened there. There's been another couple of occasions as well that he's done that, Richarlison. I mean, I just want to get your point, Ash. Where are we on Richarlison for you? There's heavy talk that Tottenham may try, if they can, to offload him in January, but that might be all dependent if Tottenham can maybe try and bring in what is at the moment being primed as Thomas Frank's number one target in Ivan Toney. Would you be up for that if we could get Richarlison off to Saudi and Ivan Toney in return? Would we be upgrading, Ash, there for you?
Yeah, I think someone said it in the comments, man. He's been linked to Everton, and clearly, I'm not saying that's his level, but clearly he's loved. When we played him at the stadium, I saw there was a lot of fan cams, a lot of fans were kind of asking him for back. Yeah. So I think that would make sense. I know we're linked with Ndai as well for maybe the summer move, maybe not January. I know he's going to African Cup of Nations, so I won't badger on about that too much. But I do think having a competent forward does affect the way you attack, in my opinion. I think it totally affects the wide players. It affects the number 10. That is the first point of contact. If we do go long, someone needs to hold on to the ball and, you know, play others in. They can take players with them if they're good enough. They can pin centre backs. And I think Ivan Toney is one of those players that he is kind of like, I'd say, a shithousery type of player where he will wind the player up. He's not the nicest guy at times, and you need that kind of guy on your side, if that makes sense. Some people hate playing against him, they become a villain, but when he's on your side, you kind of love that. And his physicality, his ability he knows the Premier League as well. And as I said before, his first touch, going along, he's got the physicality, he's able to bring other players in, he's a box threat, he can do a bit of all. So Frank's obviously worked with him before, and he took him from, was it Newcastle he took him from? So, yeah, that type of player there, I think, would make a huge difference. Will we get him? Who knows? But I definitely think if you improve, and let's make that our base minimum. Do you know what I mean? Where Toney is our minimum. And then we push on from there. We look for other players. Because I still think the midfield needs work. You talk about Bravey. You talk about passing backwards and sideways. I want players to get on the ball wherever it is, tight spaces, on the half turn, and have the ability to carry it forward. And it doesn't have to be Xavi. Do you understand? So, in my opinion, if you improve the starting 11 and you buy in January a top midfielder and a top striker, then that improves the level and we won't see boring football. Or if you buy a top winger and a top striker, again, these are players that can unlock low blocks, unlock teams that try to set up against us and make things difficult. You just need one or two players that are of quality and they push the other players that other fans might think, oh, yeah, I like this player. I think we need to give him a chance. They'll make them all into a squad rotation, if that makes sense. So I think just raising the floor again, we just need to keep adding and keep on improving. But Richarlison, for me, he's a very he's a confidence player where if it's going well for him personally in life, you can see the best of him. And people will see him as a purple patch because he will score goals in patches. He'll have a form when he can go 5 to 6 games of scoring non-stop. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden people will be like, oh, yeah, that's the striker we bought. Start of the season, and we saw that a little bit. We saw the 2 goals. They were magnificent.
They were.
But after that, it's like the simple goals. There was a chance where there's
the
a
header.
ball.
I mean, the header, just connect with a header. You've got to, the Man United game, you've got to put that on target. You know,
even before the Man United game, Ricky, there was a game we played. It's all merging into one. There was a game we played before the Manchester United game, and the ball's gone across the box, and he was too late. The ball's gone across the box, and he was too early. And there was a ball going across the box, and he just misses it.
Newcastle in the cup, maybe.
Yeah,
Newcastle in the cup.
So for me, he's a confidence player. I just need a player that doesn't always rely on confidence. Because remember, Kane wasn't really a confidence player. And that's why you need players that are
also
consistent.
And also, I mean, that game there, I mean, I totally agree on that point that has been pointed out by Nomad, who's a regular viewer and listener, Nomad, in the comments has said, far too emotional. And I think that also massively, it affected the team. You know, we spent 3 or 4 minutes celebrating the winner. As if it was a winner, only for you not to go up the other end. I mean, I agree with you, Ash. Look, we're going to come around to Ash before we close. We are. Very quickly on this, Mac, let's go to you quickly.
Just quickly.
On that situation, the Richarlison, Toney swap deal, if it can happen, are we benefiting from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think just quick. I think Ash, you're actually spot on. I mean, Richarlison is a patch player. You know, I think he did it last season, didn't he? He went 12 games, scored 9 goals or whatever it was, and we were like, here we go. And he's just gone off the ball again, couldn't get him on the pitch. Then we said, okay, he's injured, like every other side was last year. Okay, well, let's get him fit. We might have to play. We get him fit. He starts the season okay. He scores a couple of good goals. That excellent goal that he scored. Thinking, here we go, and he's just been toilet. And the reason why he's so emotional is because he ain't scored in 12 games for club and country. So, and he knows this is a World Cup year. He knows that he's potentially going. You know, it's Brazilian. He's South American. This is everything. So he knows he's got to do that. So look, maybe that header gives him some confidence. Who knows? Ivan Toney. I mean, his goal record is a joke. It's just an absolute joke.
Even in Saudi, it's a really good record.
It's a joke, mate. He's played 7 games in Saudi, scored 5 goals. Last season, he played 30 games in Saudi, scored 23. The season before in Brentford, when he's in Brentford, he's scoring 20 goals, 22 goals, 18 goals. This, somebody said it earlier. I can't name check you, buddy, so I didn't take your name down. But we're missing that. That is the key thing that we're missing. And Ash again was bang on the money. Like a proper striker makes everyone else play differently, right? Absolutely
100%.
does. And these are the issues that we're facing. Thomas is facing. So I get that. I mean, Solanke takes away quite a lot of these issues. Let's be fair. If Solanke's fit, he takes away quite a lot of these issues. He's proved he can score. He can regularly hit double figures. He's
hold the ball up.
Ball up.
He
can bring people in and around him. Can't wait to see Xavi playing off of him and all that jazz or whatever. But at the end of the day, we talked earlier about Dane Scarlett, and now all of a sudden we're going to go and get a 29-year-old forward in terms of Ivan Toney, and then there's another problem there. Are we sacking off Scarlett then? But I think that we need to get somebody in that is a proven goal scorer. Look, it's the hardest part of the game. It's sticking a ball in the back of the net. You know that, right? It's the hardest point in the game, and who knows in football? You never know, do you? You go and score, you go another, next thing you know, you're off and running. That's what Kane did. That's what we're saying Dane might end up doing. Tell might end up doing that now. You just don't know, do you? So do you roll the dice or do you crack on with what you got?
Yeah, we're going to go Bill and run on to Ashton, Macca. I've got an interesting question to close us all on. Bill, look, just so everybody knows where this content is coming from with regards to the links to Toney. Look, we are aware that obviously with him being out in Saudi, there is a issue maybe around the tax elements of that and how that would work. But Spurs would be exploring what is led to believe to be an initial loan deal for the striker, which is the only viable path to get him out of Al Ahly to protect their investment while allowing the international to play at the highest level. Now, this report adds that Frank is really, really keen to bring him back. He still has dialogue with the player, and he knows the fact that he would fit in to his system inside out, back to front. Like Macca has said there, in terms of his record, just so everyone's aware, he's gone on to net 41 goals in 59 appearances for his current side, helping them to win this year's AFC Champions League. And having impressed in Brentford with 36 goals in 83 top-flight games, he's clearly a player that knows where the back of the net is. And like Macca said, having worked under Frank previously, it does feel like a no-brainer. With regards to Richarlison, it's a World Cup year. You just wonder, given his recent form right now, does he maybe benefit him to go to a club like Everton where he's really loved? The fans love him there. I think David Moyes might get a bit of a tune out of him as being the main number 9. He's a confidence player. Bill, very quickly, that situation, that scenario where he could go to Saudi or go to Everton and allow a forward to come in, would you be in favour of that as we stand at the moment?
Yeah, I think I would. I think, I absolutely adore Richarlison. I think he's one of the best characters in football. He's been very open about struggles with his mental health. He's been, does an incredible amount of charity work off the pitch. I just want to see him happy. And I'm not sure at Tottenham Hotspur for the rest of the season is the place where he's going to be happiest. So I think moving on to Everton, maybe even back to Brazil, Fluminense, I know, or a link to him, I think it was. And there's also a link to America as well. I think, he's won his trophy at Tottenham, which is what he said was holding him back a lot of the time. He said that Tottenham paid a lot of money for me. I want to win a trophy for them. He's done that. So I think it might be a good time for him to move on. I hope that he finds happiness. In terms of Ivan Toney, I think it'll be a really good short-term option. I think he's a goal scorer. Thomas Frank knows him already. He's pretty much as close to guarantee you're going to get in January for Premier League goals. So yeah, that makes sense. And then what I would hope we would do, like Ash said earlier, that Toney would be our floor, and then we sign someone real high quality in summer. Dreamland, that would be Victor Osimhen of Galatasaray. Some massive wages though, but that's the caliber of striker I would love to have at Tottenham if we're really serious about competing with the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. We need to go and sign someone like that. So let's see what happens. But I think a short-term option, Toney, in January is fine.
Okay. Also, just one thing I need to just also bring to maybe everyone's attention, that there are reports out there suggesting that during this international break, Tottenham are going to engage with Mickey van der Ven over contract talks with the hope of hopefully tying him down to a bumper new long-term deal. There is apparently, according to some sources, reporting interest from Liverpool out there, but Van der Ven is understood to be very, very happy at the club. He loves playing alongside Christian Romero, although there are several reports suggesting Tottenham may be looking to bring his wages up to the par of Christian Romero, as we know, who is the highest paid player at the club. The club do view Van der Ven as a world-class defender and a symbol of their project under Thomas Frank. And Van der Ven was the only player in Europe's top 5 leagues this season so far to have scored 3 or more goals and made 2 or more last man tackles. And we saw one of those great tackles against Manchester United, of course, at the weekend. Right, final question to everyone. Ash, I want you to kick it off. Based on what you've seen so far, 11 games in, unbeaten in the Champions League, Tottenham sitting at the moment inside the top 6. Gut feeling, Ash, where are we going to finish this season?
7th, I'd say. I think around 7th. I think people aren't going to like this, but it's not this season. I wouldn't even look at it, bro. I'll be honest with you. This season here, he needs at least another 2 windows, in my opinion. And if people want attacking football, I don't think the club recruited right for an attacking manager. I'm not saying he can't, improve that side of things, but I think he is from what I've seen at Brentford, even though he did rack up, I think, 63 goals last season. I know in the Championship was a possession-based team, blah, 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 blah. But I just feel like he's that kind of defend first. Let me look at the opposition. Let me negate what they have. He's that style of manager. But that's not to say, in seasons to come, we can't improve the squad, improve quality of the players, and we can see improvements there. But for this season here, I think it'll be massive if we got Champions League. Like if we got a 4th or 5th, that'll be. But I'm not expecting that. That's just my personal opinion.
And he'll be here Ash next season, won't he? He'll start next season, right?
Yeah, he'll be here next season. I mean, fans might go a bit iffy.
It's only at a club like Tottenham you've got to ask these questions.
No, fans might go a bit iffy because between 5th and 10th, I think there's 2 points between 5th and 10th. So we could, by Arsenal, if we lose that game, we could easily end up 10th. And then from there, the fans, the fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I don't look at the table personally.
Okay.
But, I want to see performances like anyone else. And I don't expect that until, like I said, until that floor's improved. We get a few players back like Kulusevski. I think Kulusevski, Frank would love a player like that.
100%.
Love a player. And that would help.
So would Xavi, wouldn't it?
That would help Xavi Simons so much.
Yeah.
That would make him move towards the left. You got a right 10 and a left 10. Then that will combine with Odobert, and then I can see the rotation between Odobert and Xavi, and then the rotation between Kulusevski and Kudos. And that's what will pull teams apart. And then you put a proper number 9 there, and we can start to see attacking patterns.
Ash, you've been a star. Make sure you go and check out Spurs Kings TV. They're never quiet. Ash, thank you so much. We'll see you back on here real soon. Bill, let's go to you. We're going to close with Mac and McQueen. Bill, gut feeling. Where are we going to finish this season? I didn't say trophy. You can throw a trophy in if you want. Throw a trophy.
Yeah, I'm not far from Ash. I'm going to be slightly more optimistic and say 6th, which I think will be fine. I think so. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but I think a lot of people have to remember as well. I saw a lot of people say it in the chat. They're also dealing with the hangover of Daniel Levy at the moment. So I think 6th after the season that he's gone. We had our first pretty decent transfer window this summer. Hopefully that's the start of things to come. 6th will be fine. Let's go and win our Europa League back next summer. Let's go and get another trophy and then talk about Champions League football in a couple of years later. So I think 6th will be broadly fine. I think the only problem for me is I think it's a big opportunity this season because Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United also look quite poor and they are always going to spend. So we're going to have to spend next summer, but we have a new regime promised to do that. So let's do it. 6th will be fine. I'll be very happy with that in the first season after finishing 17th last year.
Bill, thank you so much. You've been a star. We'll see much more Billy T as we give him a rest during the international break and bring him back out for an interesting Arsenal game on the horizon. God help us. Macca, let's close with you. How many times have I asked Macca in 8 years, where are we finishing? Are we keeping the manager? This football club is nuts. The problem is we're chaos on here, right? So this is what, maybe because we are at the moment, it's a little bit like you said, we're kind of chugging along on the train because it's not been chaos. Close us, Macca. What's happening? Where are we finishing?
I think, well, firstly, I mean, I've bought. Would it be fair to say that I've bought some quite high profile news on this channel in the past, right? Yeah, you also know, boys, because you're in the group, mate. So you knew the heads up before, and I've been told that we are going to own the transfer window. I told you this, Rick, already. We are going to own the January transfer window. So let's see if that happens. We can get excited about it. We're allowed to be happy and excited, team. We are allowed. So let's see if we own that transfer window. I'm not just looking here. I mean, Julian Alvarez would be an absolute unbelievable signing for Tottenham Hotspur, wasn't he? As a striker, absolutely tearing it up in La Liga for Atletico. I also do think that, based on what Ash said earlier as well, I do think that, when you get them other players back, the left 10, the right 10, everything you just said, and then we get a proper number 9, I do think a fit Dominic Solanke could be that guy. He could be that guy. So let's see where we go there. Where we're going to finish. Look, I want another trophy. And here's the thing. It was the best footballing week of my life. I was at the Champions League final, and it was probably the worst footballing week of our lives. But it was the best footballing week of our lives, most of our lives, certainly mine, in Bilbao. And I want it again. And, it's not Tottenham Hotspur Football Club are not, we shouldn't just go, okay, great, let's wait another 15 years to have that again. No, we go again. So I know the whole finishing 17th and winning a trophy situation, but if we did finish, I don't want to be finishing outside the top 6. But if it meant that we won a trophy,
I'd finish 10th for winning the FA Cup.
I'd finish 10th for winning the FA Cup again. Yeah. Now the problem with that is that you've got 3 trophies you can win, right? You've got the Champions League, the Premier League, or the FA Cup. So let's be absolutely clear. We ain't going to do the first 2, are we? So, if Thomas Frank has to win, the FA Cup starts in the new year, we get some players back, we own the transfer window. We need to start thinking about really driving forward on with the FA Cup, because a top 8 finish 8th in an FA Cup would be great. Would be fantastic. I would take that
all day long. All day long.
Is it about the Champions League? Yeah, but if you look at Poch, I obviously got us to Champions League final in the end. But when he first started, we were playing Europa League football, which is development. We had a great time last year in the Europa League. We obviously won the Europa League, some fantastic away days. And for me, that's what football's about. It might not be 100%. That for everybody, but that is what football's about. So, I love the stories of how did you get here? How many trains did you have to get on? Oh my God, I love that stuff. That's great. So cup runs are really important. So, but where do I finish is the question you asked is where do I think we finish? I actually do think we'll finish 6th. I do. So okay. I think we'll finish 6th. And it hasn't been a bad start. Like, it hasn't been a bad start. If you want top 4 football, you need to get 70 points. Now, if we carried on this trajectory on the point per game that we've got now, versus, I haven't worked it out, lads, to be fair, viewers and listeners, somebody else might work it out, we're going to have to improve. We will improve when we get players back. Like, we will improve when we get our forward lines back. And like Ash said, Xavi is a left 10, Kulusevski is a right 10. I mean, Kudos coming inside, Kulusevski going on the right side, bringing Brennan on to get back post tap-ins or whatever in the last few minutes. It will make a huge difference. So I genuinely believe that and Thomas will be here this season. He ain't going nowhere. Sick.
So you say that so confidently, like you've done this football club, but yeah.
Well, no, it's the new regime brought Thomas in. This wasn't a Daniel Levy appointment. Thomas Frank wasn't a Daniel Levy appointment. Daniel Levy doesn't run the football club anymore. So it's got, yes, he's got shares and whatever, but forget that. He hasn't got a say in who's coming in as the manager. So at the end of the day, they won't revolve. Like, Daniel Levy was the guy who was the revolving managers. Right, let's see the difference. And I agree with Billy. Like, we've already seen a slight difference. Palhinha don't get signed. Palhinha does not get signed as a 29-year-old. He don't get signed under Daniel Levy 2 years ago. Yeah. And Kudos, it's different. So let's see where we go. Maybe 29-year-old Ivan Toney does come in the door in January. We're going to own the window.
Hey, Macca, did you hear what Poch was saying?
What's he saying, man? Is he coming?
Where's the show coming? There was a handbrake U-turn there. Bills is very funny. It was that well, that's another debate you'd start.
When's the World Cup finish? When's the World Cup? It's after the season, right? Yeah.
We're tracking, as Billy's very kindly put in our little chat here, 62 points and current points per game, which would make us maybe 8 shy of Champions League.
Yeah, so just quickly, 62 on average over a 15-year period, 62 to 63 points. It could be enough. It's a top 6 finish. It's a top 6 finish. Yeah, if you want top 5, you're looking at 65, 68. And if you want
imagine our home form will improve as well, so it should improve.
I hope so.
Yeah. Exactly. So, the fella's doing all right. You statistically, you've got to look at it. Sometimes with the emotion, like Ash said, you look at the table, like whatever. But actually, statistically wise, if you're rocking up and getting 1.8, 1.85 points per game, and you roll that out across the season, and I know football don't work like that, but the odds are there or thereabouts. You can't look at 15, 20 years worth of Premier League table data and then not have a pattern. The reality is you get 70 points, you're top 4. So forget who else is around you. That's emotion. Like if you get 70 points, you are pretty much going to get top 4. Top 5, already know gets Champions League. Yes or no? Right? So at the end of the day, 67, 68 points will get you Champions League football.
Yeah. And obviously that goal, that United goal in the 96th minute, obviously that just stops Tottenham from obviously averaging 2 points per game based on what we've seen so far. And that's the difference. The one goal is the difference that United scores. So it's all to play.
I said it earlier, didn't he? It's fine margins, mate. That is football.
It's all to play for, and only a trip for Arsenal next. So we should all just rest easy for this international break to sit down.
Let's don't derail their thing. It'd be funny, wouldn't it? It'd be hilarious. We haven't won there since Yunus Kabul backheader in 2010, and we were 2-0 down that day as well. That was underwritten. So let's go there. You know, no one is expecting us to win. No one in the media, no one in Arsenal, no one anywhere on the planet.
You're right. No one's going to miss a chance.
Go there and win.
Right.
So let's just go there and win.
Yeah.
A little thing we could do.
A lovely little deli flick from a Scarlett or from a Richarlison. I'm asking too much. Let's see. I want to say a massive thank you to these wonderful guests. Ash, thank you so much. Of course, Ash over at Spurs Kings TV. Go and check him out over there. Maka, thank you so much. We'll see you after the international break. Billy T as well. Bill, thank you so much. He's resting up. We've got a couple of really great shows bringing you during the international break. We've got some interesting ones. Listen, we're going to leave you like that because we don't want to give too much away. So we'll see from Maka, from Billy T, from Ash over at Spurs Kings TV. We have been the last word on Spurs. Keep the faith. Keep believing. It's only Arsenal next. From us all. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on you Spurs.